Raji makes all of this happen, makes it all beautifully and smooth so I can focus on everyone else coming in. Beautiful. Hello, Virginia and Tom and Daniel and Stuart and Paul. As you pop into the chat bar. Where are you calling from? Are you Queensland, New South Wales? Where are you coming in from? So pop it into the chat bar as you're coming in. We've got about a minute before we start. Hello, Anthony and Daniel and Caitlin, Warren, Marion. Love seeing everyone popping in. So pop into the chat bar. We're from South Australia. I was only there a couple of weeks ago, Marion. I heard that it's turned cold and you've had lots of rain. Yeah. So here in Queensland, it feels like it's getting close to summer now. Oh, Steve in New Zealand, lovely to have you here. Naomi, I was in Sydney last week. The weather was magic. It was beautiful. Newcastle. Hello, Anthony. I'm from Gosford, actually. That's where I originally come from on the Central Coast. It's still magic. Good. Let's hope it keeps magic for you. You've had enough rain. You've had enough rain for the last couple of years, haven't you? Siraj, good to see you, Siraj. I'm so glad you could come as well. Elliot.
Glad to see you too.
Beautiful. Well, we are 12 o'clock and I can still see everyone coming in, but I'm going to hand over to the amazing Tony to get us started.
Good. Well, good afternoon now. Thanks very much, Kylie. And thanks everyone for coming along. This is the first one. We do a few webinars, obviously, and so is Kylie, and we're very, very excited to be working with Kylie today. I'm from Business Health, for those who don't know. We're a consulting company based I'm in Brisbane. Rod and Cherry are in Sydney. And what we do is we basically only deal in financial services.
And things like that. But I'm pretty hesitant.
We might get, there you go. If everyone could just mute their microphones, that'd be great. So we're very excited to be here. We only work in financial services, and I guess one of the things that we've done over the years is we've been lucky enough to work in a whole bunch of different countries. So we've worked a lot in South Africa. We're still working a lot in the US. We've worked in New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, the UK, and I think one of the things that we've seen in dealing in different geographies and then also dealing in different business types. So it could be a small business, a large business. It could be an employed channel, if you like. Irrespective of what kind of business or irrespective of what kind of geography, the things that drive success in businesses are the things that we've seen. They're all the same. Basically, they're the same. So the things that drive success, the things that drive profitability, the things that drive value, the things that drive efficiency are all the same irrespective of where they go. And one of the things that we've talked about over many years is obviously the idea around the value that financial advisors provide. Now, in all of those jurisdictions, if you like, in all of those geographies, what we know for an absolute certainty is that advisors provide significant amounts of value. Their clients love them, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that, but they provide an enormous amount of value. And then however, when it comes to articulating that value, sometimes there is a little bit of, it's not as easy to articulate the value as it is to provide it, if you like. We often say, as an example, when we're talking to people about the client value proposition, that sometimes or oftentimes there's two things missing in a client value proposition. One of those things is client, and the other one is value. And that's not to say that there's no value being offered. It's simply that oftentimes when on a website or a brochure, the advisor talks about what they do, not what the client gets. Okay, and that's what we mean by no client. If it's not about the value that the client receives, it can't really be a client value proposition. So I might just get you to go to this next slide, Kylie, if I can. So we've got a couple. We do love a quote now and again, and here's a couple of quotes that we think are really, really important. And these are things that again are tried and tested and well known. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And a lot of people only concentrate on the price, on the dollar, not the value that's actually getting. And again, when people are talking about the price, when people are talking about how much it costs, they often forget about that value, and that's what we want to talk about today. Now, we do things around value, and we do different workshops and different things, but with the background that Kylie has, particularly around psychology, she takes a different view, and a very intelligent, thought-out view of articulating value. So we thought it was really, really important that Kylie's message get across, because it is a fantastic message. We go to the next slide, Kylie, please. So basically, again, what you can see here is we do a client survey, and basically it's a confidential anonymous client survey. And what clients tell us is this is what your clients tell us. Number one, is that delivering value is something that we're very good at. Next slide. Next, just hit the button there, Kylie. So at the top, we can see there is that business relationship and professionalism at the high. Now, that's over 60,000 clients have responded to our survey on behalf of their client. Down the bottom, however, around communication, so what your clients are telling us is that they're getting value, but they're not necessarily getting the communication or the articulation. And very quickly again, next slide, thanks, Kylie. That what you tell us is that the average client revenue is $3,852. This is from our stats. But of course, there is a big value between the highest and the lowest value in most businesses, and sometimes the fees that are paying by the lower the fees are being paid are the issue, because financial advisors are worried about how to increase their fees, even though they're providing significant amounts of value. And there are only a third of practices that are doing that actually have a client segmentation model where they offer differentiated services for differentiated price. Half have a documented CVP. Next one, please. However, that CVP is not being communicated. Okay, so again, what we want to do is we want to talk today, and Kylie's going to talk about value. Again, she's going to give a fantastic perspective. And what we'll do is we'll come back later and talk about some of the other things that we might be able to do as a result. So Kylie, thank you very much, and over to you.
Thanks, Tony, and lovely to see so many familiar faces. Anthony, I get to see you twice in a week. How amazing is that? Okay, so good to see everyone. I started in this industry 30 years ago, or over 30 years ago, but I'm sort of stopping at 30 because then I start to feel much older than I feel I really am. But the reason I started in this industry was because a life agent made a massive impact on my family's life. Okay, here's a picture of my dad. When I was 13 years old, my dad was diagnosed with cancer and given a very short time to live. He died within 12 months of that diagnosis. My dad was smart enough back in the late 70s to have got life insurance through an old life agent, okay, the ones that used to knock on the door. And I remember thinking to myself, that was a pretty special career to have. That was a pretty special impact to make in someone's life. That didn't make us millionaires, but what it did do was it allowed my family to stay in the house that my dad built for us. It allowed my mum to take some time off at the age of 37 and figure out how she was going to bring up 6 kids alone. And it allowed us kids to actually feel like we just didn't have our whole life uprooted from us. I made it a mission of mine to be and work in this industry and to help as many people I feel in Australia have the retirement, the insurance, the protection that they need. I really feel that what we do as an industry is never about the cost. It's always about the value that we provide to them. Okay, so today what I want to talk about is why when we overeducate clients, it can actually backfire. I've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of financial advisors and sat in so many appointments with them. And I've seen advisors overeducate and the impact that has on the client. I also sat in your seat as an advisor many, many years ago. So I've also felt the experience of me learning and growing as I was growing as a financial advisor. So I want to touch on what is the impact of that. I want to talk about building trust before technical talk. Okay, and again, even relating to what Tony's talking about here, is sometimes we go to that technical side because that's what we love. That's where we feel comfortable. But building trust is so critically important. That's what really shows the value. They expect you know the technical side. So it really is, how do we build that trust in order to make sure that when that technical side comes up, it lands right. I want to talk about how top advisors influence with confidence. And I also, with a background in psychology, I want to touch on the psychology of decision making. Okay, so how do people think about and behave when it comes to decisions? So both logic and emotion, okay, because we know both of those play such an important part. I'm going to talk around some of the things that I would really want to hear you talking about in your value proposition. So often we have a company value proposition, but we don't actually have a really meaningful personal value proposition. So I'm going to talk about what are the differences, but then what are some of those things you want to see in that personal value proposition as well. And I can't ever do a webinar without giving away some free tools and resources. Okay, so I'm going to give you some free tools and resources as we go throughout the program, but we're also going to make sure that you get those in the emails as well after it too. We're going to be using the chat bar, okay, as we go through, and I'm also going to be really getting you to think about what it is that you do and how you articulate. So I want you to really imagine as we're going, how do you articulate your value proposition to clients, and some of the things that you might be doing that you might want to tweak or you might want to shift in order to really land and build trust with clients. I love, love, love this quote, okay? You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value that you bring to the hour. And value isn't just technical skills or strategies, it's that real deep human connection. You know, the trust you build in that first few minutes, the way you make a client feel, whether it be safe or peace of mind or understood or listened to, the clarity that you create when you cut through that complexity and make it nice and simple for your client, sparks that confidence in them that they know you are that right advisor. You know, I'm often saying to advisors, I actually even think that 3.8 that you put up, Tony, is far too low, right, for advice. But I know so many people are even doing lower than that average price. But it's the same like if I went to a heart surgeon, okay, or a solicitor or an eye surgeon, okay, I'm not just paying for the hour that I'm there. I'm paying for their experience, their qualifications, their knowledge, their network, the team of people that support them. The same is true when it comes to financial advice. Okay, it's not just that hour that you're there with them, it's the value that you bring to that hour. It's the people around you. I'm going to give you what I call the ecosystem of value that financial advisors bring, so that you can look at it and go, what are the parts of this ecosystem am I not actually really articulating very well to the clients? Okay, you have so much value that is outside of your normal 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour appointments or times that you see your clients every year. Okay, so let's just touch on, I want to touch on just the difference between a company value proposition and a personal value proposition, just so that we're all aligned, so that when we're going through it, by now, all of you would have a company value proposition. Okay, a company value proposition is really clear. It articulates your unique selling points. It focuses on the customer benefits. It's all about really addressing competitor distinctions. And when we think about financial advice, that's actually hard to deliver now, right? Because there's not much difference, okay, there might be some unique selling points that you can show, but realistically, we can do and deliver what it is for the client that they need. So company value proposition is generally something people are really good at talking to. In fact, they feel really good and confident about talking about their company value proposition, but the personal value proposition, okay, is far, far more important. Okay, this is what makes the client connect with you. It's what makes the client want to do business with you. So in here, we might be demonstrating our experience. We might be expressing our passion, okay? Just as I gave you a really tiny, small snippet of my dad's story, okay? It's why you do what you do, what makes you, what drives you, what gets you out of bed, okay? Why is it that you want to help clients? What inspired you to do that? Where did that come from, okay? It also highlights your strengths, okay, but for their particular situation, okay? So it is really your strengths related to what they came for, okay? So often I've sat in on advisors' appointments and they're highlighting strengths that are not related to what the client's talking about. So we want to make sure we're highlighting strengths that really relate to them. Could be pre-retirees, it could be retirees, it could be accumulators, it could be someone that's coming in for insurance. It doesn't matter. You want to highlight the strengths for them. And it also provides that relatable evidence. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail as we go through. And we're going to give you an opportunity to start to think about what does your personal value proposition look like, okay? But before I get into that, I want to touch on a couple of things that I said I would when we invited you to come to this workshop. And that is why over-educating clients often backfires. You know, too much detail, too much technical detail overwhelms clients and creates confusion rather than clarity. I've had an opportunity, as I said, to sit in on hundreds of advisors' appointments where I get to help them, you know, better articulate that entire customer journey. And I've literally seen clients' eyes glaze over. I've seen them totally disengaged. I've seen them be distracted because they've lost you, okay? Because they don't know what it is that you're talking about because you've gone into that technical stuff. We're currently looking to redo our mortgage, okay? And I was speaking to a mortgage broker yesterday and they started talking to me all about obligations and all about this and all about that. I literally just went, thank you, I'm done, I'm good, right? So it's those types of things that can just totally take us away from that trust and connection that we want to build with our clients. Clients rarely make decisions by how much you know. They decide, and I'm going to share with you a psychological framework that shares with you how people make decisions. But they decide based on how safe and understood they feel. Okay, so are you making them feel safe? Are you making them feel understood? Right? Over-explaining literally can unintentionally signal distrust. I don't believe that you understand unless I tell you absolutely everything. And technical jargon distances you from the client. Simplicity builds confidence. When we make it clear and easy, when we make it understood, when we make it relatable to the client that's sitting in front of us, they walk out as if we're a partner in this, as opposed to, you know more than I do and I'm just going to listen to you, okay? They know that you've got the technical know-how. They expect you to have the technical know-how. They know that we have requirements around our education, okay? So they expect that. It's how do you make them feel heard and understood? There's a great framework around the science of persuasion, okay? And it says, how do people buy or why do people buy? And there's 3 reasons that people buy. The first one is emotional reasons to buy. So that might be peace of mind. So for Terry, it could be all around, you know, I want to know if something happens, my family is okay. I want to know, I want to have that peace of mind that I don't have to worry that I'm going to be okay to retire, that I'm going to have enough money. Okay, so peace of mind. The second one is dominant reasons. Now, this could be fear or pain or financial hardship. So fear, it could be, I fear that, you know, I'm not going to have enough. And because of that, I need to act, and I need to act fast. It could be the pain of not having enough and what my retirement might look like. Okay, so that dominant reason is enough for them to go, I need to take action. I don't want to retire and living on a pension. Okay, so if I do something now, that dominant fear will be taken away. And then we've got logical reasons to buy. Of course, it makes total sense to me. Why would I not prepare and plan for my future? Okay, why would I not protect my family? Why would I not start to think about this sort of stuff? Okay, so when it comes to these, why do people buy? Oh, I haven't pressed the other one. It's not that there's one over the other. Okay, it's generally a blend, but what we do see is one is stronger than the other. Okay, so I might have a husband and wife sitting in the room with me. We might have the wife saying, you know, I just want to make sure I'm okay. I just want to make sure if something happens to you that I'm good, or I want to make sure the children get the education that I want. So you might have someone saying that real emotional, and then you've got that logical. You might have the husband, and I'm being general here, but you might have the husband going, of course, let's just get this done. This makes total sense. Okay, so when you're looking at your value, you need to be starting to think about what's the person that I've got in front of me, and how should I be educating them in order for that to relate to them. Okay, and how do we learn that? We learn that through developing our own emotional intelligence. Okay, we develop it through, you know, having that self-awareness, to be able to be present with them, to be able to pick up some of those triggers or things they might be saying or things they might be writing down. Okay, so I want you to open up the chat bar. I want you to let's do one first quick activity. Where do you feel you might be over educating your clients? Is it on the strategy? Is it on the markets? Is it on what is it? What is it that you feel like you might be over educating your clients? Is it around product? Is it around platform? Is it around, you know, returns? Where do you feel you might be over educating your client? The first thing I really want you to just be aware of is, could I be doing this, right? This is this emotional intelligence. Could I actually be over educating my clients? If it is, that's the first trigger to go, right, how can I step it back, but also how can I actually try and make it more clear and concise? Strategy talk. I love it, Ellen. James, lovely to see you. Markets and data. Now, that might be okay for some people, right? I remember seeing engineers or doctors, and that's what they wanted. So that's important. So that might be, but it's how much do they need it, right? So superannuation, absolutely, okay. Strategy, markets, strategy, too much tech terms. Who's that? Vivian, beautiful. Okay, so again, it's about that understanding of, am I over educating them on those things, right? The emotional intelligence comes when we stop, when we are talking, and we can really observe their body language, their eyes, how are they engaging? Are they sitting forward? What's actually happening in this space? So keep popping those down. Definitely strategy. Okay, good. So we know, and look, this is our jam. This is what we love doing. This is what we love doing. So we kind of think, oh my God, I love doing it. Therefore, they should love it too. But it's not the case. Okay. They just want to know that you can help them achieve what it is they want to achieve. Peace of mind, family, you know, legacy, whatever it is, right? So they're the things we want to let them know that we can absolutely achieve it through the strategy or through the data or through the markets or through whatever it is. But really what they really want us to do, and even Tony's slide showed that, is make sure you're talking to me. Make sure you're really articulating what it means for me. Definitely overeducating. Good, Sheila. Good. I love it. Right. For those that haven't put it in, I want you to reflect on that part yourself, because there will be things that you are overeducating. So how do we reduce our education in order to build trust and connection before you've even said anything technical? Okay, so trust is always built in the first moments. Okay, we know that we can build trust as we go on, but it's built in the first moments. It's your tone, it's your presence, it's the listening that matter more than the facts and the data that you're sharing them. It's that empathy, it's that curiosity, it's the small cues, it's the eye contact, it's the body language, it's that genuine curiosity with them. Tell me, I'm here for you, I'm not here for the product, okay? It's asking emotional questions, value-based questions. We run a full sales and soft skills training program for financial planners, and the power is asking questions that are related to their values before the money. Money is always linked to emotion and meaning. It's how do we make sure we get that emotion and the meaning from it? So often I'm always wanting financial planners to understand what's important to them and why is that important. It's probably one of the most important questions I get financial advisors to ask is, why is that important? What is important to you? Where did that come from? There's always a deeper understanding of that. So power of asking questions before giving answers. So, you know, in a framework that I work with financial planners on, the second part of it, the first part is building that trust and rapport, but the second part is all around discovery. It's asking those questions that go deeper than just that higher level questioning before we actually go to educate them on how we can help them. A lot of the time, financial advisors will ask some questions, then they'll educate, then they'll ask some questions, then they'll educate, ask some questions and educate, okay? And what happens from that, from a psychological perspective, is it feels like it's a bit of a ping pong, okay? I'm going forward and I'm learning and I'm going backwards and forwards. What we want to do is we want to stay in the space of discovery. It's a beautiful space to play in, and you get to find out much more about your client at that deeper level. And then once we have all of that information, you can go in and you can give some more information. It's about holding space, okay? And knowing when to be silent and knowing when to just hold that moment for it to land. It might be asking an emotional question and waiting for Anthony to answer, and then just holding that space for Anthony to feel like what it is that we just talked about. It might be, you know, James telling me a story about his family, or telling me a story about, you know, what happened when he was growing up and why this is so important to plan now. It's about holding that space. So often we don't like silence, right? We feel like we need to fill that silence. But if we just hold that space, then we can start to build trust with our clients at a deeper level. Open up your chat bar. What do you think you wish you do more? Would it be empathy? Would it be active listening? Would it be more curiosity? Would it be asking more questions? Would it be holding space? What do you feel you could get better at when it comes to building trust? Pop it into the curiosity. Good, yeah. All of it, Kylie. Yeah, better frame question, James. Absolutely. It's when we ask those open emotional questions, that's when the power comes alive. You know, I was studying my psych degree when I was a financial advisor, and I remember learning about emotional intelligence and thinking, I can use this. I can use this with my clients in a good way, right? In a good way. But it was about asking questions and sitting in that space. And the things that clients would tell me and the relationship that I would learn from them, okay, and the things that came out from those conversations of just holding that space was powerful, okay? So how do we build trust and connection before you've said anything technical? Okay, create rapport, build space around those questions, stay in that space, okay? This is what I see top advisors do differently in order to influence action with confidence, okay? They always lead with goals and emotions. Yeah, Daryl, absolutely. RG, I can hear a bit of background noise, just if you can as well. Lead with goals and emotions, not solutions. Sometimes, and again, I get it, sometimes I do it even in my own business, is I'm so excited to let them know that I can help them that I go straight to solution mode. It's like, quick, I can do that. I can fix that, okay? But what we want to do is we want to lead with goals and emotions, because that's important, okay? The vehicle is the solution, is how we're going to get there. But first, we want to let them know why we want to get there. everything you told me, Jade, and this is why this is so important, okay? Nikki, all the things that you talked to me about, why this was so important, and the kind of things that you're wanting to experience and know that you've got in place, this is how we can do it. So we want to be able to educate on our solution, but we must attach it to their goals and emotions. Sometimes we actually assume that they should just know what it is and how it relates to their goals, but they don't, okay? And some do, but if we actually link it back to, remember when you said this, this is how it's going to help, that's when we're going to know that it's different. So how can you lead with goals and emotions first and solutions later? How can you use stories and analogies clients relate to? By now, I would imagine you would have a bucket filled of stories, okay? How can you bring like some of those stories out? I do a lot of presenting, and people want to know more stories than anything else. And I remember being told many, many years ago by a guy called Keith Abraham. Some of you might have met Keith Abraham. He's an amazing keynoter all over the world, but he's here in Brisbane. And he always said, Kylie, you need to start a journal and you need to start to write stories in that journal. Because when we start to write down the stories of the clients we've helped or the people that we've met or the experiences that we've gone through, that relates with our clients, okay? And our clients can then go, right, Sheila knows this, she's experienced this, she's done this before. She knows what I'm after. So how often are you sharing stories? I did a keynote last week in Sydney for Spark Financial Group for their roadshow. And I got many of the financial planners to share their stories about the clients they've helped and the impact they've made and the legacy they want to leave, right? That's the types of things that clients want to hear. That's the value. That's your value proposition about the things that are really important to them. Open up your chat bar. Who's telling enough stories in your meeting? Say yes or no. If you know you should be thinking about more stories, take some time, grab a coffee, grab a tea, sit down and think about the stories of the clients that you've worked with, okay? Those stories need to be shared, because then when they feel that they can relate to them, then you are the advisor for them. Give clear, simple next steps, okay? It is really crystal clear, and after we've met today, this is the next steps that we're going to do, okay? There's no confusion with Anne. This is what's going to happen. Lots of stories to share. Beautiful, Stephen. Stories are powerful. We've been telling stories since the test of time, right? In tribal days, okay? Everyone loves a good story. Listen more than you speak. I saw Daryl put use 2 ears and 1 mouth in proportion. It's the same in this situation. I see financial advisors that are just listening more than they speak, okay? Open up your chat bar. What's the one area that you go, I need to get better than that? I need to talk about goals before I talk about solutions. I need to use more stories. I need to be clear, concise at the end. I need to listen more than I speak. We talk about this from active listening, okay? Active listening is listening to hear, not listening to respond. So often we're listening to respond. Beautiful. Keep popping into the chat bar. What is the one area that you know you need to focus on? Oops, sorry. Last one is they guide, they don't lecture, okay? So how is it that you can guide clients through that journey? Beautiful, Naomi. I love that, okay? That means other advisors can now share other stories that they hear, so they don't have to be all of their stories. And sometimes the younger advisors say to me, Kylie, I don't have enough stories yet. So speak to others that have got those stories and use those stories, okay? There are so many stories out there. But remember, I think the most important thing to remember is that they are all human first, okay? So we talk a lot about the human connection, and there's so much research out there now that is saying people want to feel connected. They want to feel like you and them have a tight relationship, that you understand them. They want to be that circle of 5 people that you would call, or they would call, if something went wrong. You want that, okay? The psychology of decision making and why logic never lands without emotion, okay? I always think about, most of the time, most of the people that we're seeing are doing this for their family or their future, okay? So logic never lands without emotion. Emotions always drive decisions before logic do. So how can we create that emotion? Not through fear, okay, but create that emotion of what it would look like if they were achieving the future that they wanted, okay? So not fear-based, but emotion-based. Reassurance unlocks action, fear blocks it, which is exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So how do we reassure them that we're on this journey together with them? How do you reassure them that you've got this, that you know what you're doing, that you are absolutely experienced in this space? You've helped so many clients do exactly what it is that they're after. Clients buy peace of mind, not numbers and models. And stories and visuals spark emotion. So how can you, even have some of their pictures up so that you can share and spark some of that emotion? I know many advisors now that are using AI to, take the core data out of their SOA and put it into a PowerPoint deck like this with pictures to spark emotion and create stories and visuals about what it is they're going to do, as opposed to looking at a 70-page SOA. So even about how you're presenting this is critically important as well. Emotion plus logic equals real confidence. So I just want to remind you around the science of persuasion, okay? So that when you are with your clients, you are starting to consider, where is this person coming from? And do I have a difference? Is it more emotional? Is it more dominant? Is it more logical? And then if it's one of those 3, how do I make sure when I'm talking about the benefit of advice, or the value of our advice, that we're tapping into those 3 different areas, okay? And the more dominant area for them. So I said to you before, I want you to think about advice like an ecosystem, okay? An ecosystem of all the things that you offer. When crafting your value proposition, it's so much more vital to view it more than just a yearly or a bi-yearly client meeting. I want you to think of it like an entire ecosystem surrounding your guidance and advice, just like a consulting doctor, or just like a consulting specialist, okay? Just like that cardiologist that I said, you're not just compensating them for the time in that appointment, okay? You're investing in their wealth of experience. You're investing in their time, their education, their deep knowledge, their specialized expertise, all of that, okay? The same is true for you as an advisor, okay? So when I think about the ecosystem of financial advice, it is all of this. This is what you offer, okay? We're going to share these, so you don't need to worry about, share this slide at least. You don't need to worry about taking a snippet of it, because you will get it in our emails. But this is this beautiful ecosystem of things that you do. Now, you might not cover off all of those in your practice, but I just want you to have a look at it from an ecosystem. If we think about it from a financial planner, an advice perspective, if we think about the value proposition, here's some additional examples of how you provide value to them, okay? Saving them time, helping them around stress, making the most of their super, staying comfortable in retirement. So I don't want you to look at that and go, right, these are the words that I say with the client. I'm going to share with you a personal value proposition in a minute. But I want you just to remember that these are all of the things that you offer your clients when it comes to financial advice. So let's have a look at an example of a value proposition. And I want you to think about it from your perspective is how many of these things am I touching on? Okay, so remember, if we remember that value proposition, personal value proposition that I talked about at the front end of the workshop. So for example, okay, and again, it doesn't have to be word by word. And again, you can look at these yourself and you'll get a copy of this slide as well. So for more than 15 years, I've had the privilege of helping people make sense of their money and shape the life they want. Okay. My passion, money has always been so personal to me. I grew up watching my parents struggle with it, and I promised I would never do that to myself. I wanted to create financial freedom that they didn't have, right? What I didn't expect, though, was how much joy I would find in helping others. So we had a financial advisor that said, you know, Kylie, I just wanted to make money. That was it, plain and simple, right? And we went, that's great, but why did you stay? And he said, okay, I do find joy in helping others, okay? So he might have started out just wanting to make money, but in the end, he actually stayed because of the value he was providing to others, okay? So again, I talked to you very, very quickly about my father's story. That's why I do what I do, right? It's why I'm passionate about what I do. Strengths, it might be, I love making the complex simple. I love taking something that feels really overwhelming for so many of my clients and breaking it down in a way that just makes sense. My clients feel like they're heard. I feel like they're understood, they're supported. And that truly is the highest compliment that I can get. Okay. And then the impact. Okay. And you don't have to say all of this, but what I want you to do is start to think about, am I touching on some of these things when I'm actually talking to my client? Now, you would notice when I'm talking that my tone goes up and down, okay, especially when I'm passionate about something, when I'm strong with something, or when I'm, talking about my experience. The same has to come from you too. They have to feel that same sense. I was running a communication workshop this morning to a group of leaders, and we were talking about that. You don't want to just say it in monotone. You want to make sure that the energy's there, the passion's there, that you're really talking to those strengths. The impact, I've seen the difference this approach makes. Clients feel more secured, they feel more empowered, and they're retiring earlier than they ever thought possible. Okay. I remember this one financial planner that we were working with many, many years ago. She talked about, when we said to her, what do you do? She said, I help save clients tax. I save for their future so they can retire easy and just have that peace of mind. And we're like, okay, that's a bit boring. Okay, true, but boring. Okay, and when we looked at really what does she do, she was a country advisor. And when we really delved deeper into what it is that she did, she actually helped farming families protect and grow their wealth so that family farms could stay in the family today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. And then a longer one was her work is more than financial strategies. She partners with farming families to safeguard their legacy. She structures their finances. She puts succession plans in place and investment so the family farm can thrive through every season and be confidently passed down to children and grandchildren. Now, that's a value proposition. If someone said that compared to that, who would you go with? You would absolutely go with the second one, right? So it's how do we create a value proposition that is going to drive people to want to do business with you? Okay. And when you share your strengths, your experience, your passion, then that's when people are connected. I'm going to pause for a moment. Tony, do you want to add something here about, because I know you often talk about the client and the value there.
Well, I think what we see happen oftentimes is, again, when people are exactly like you said, Kylie, when they're talking about what they do, they talk about what they do. You go to a website, right? You go to any website and they talk about what they do, not the value that they provide. It's interesting, and for those of you who have been around for a while, as we have been, we used to work with a guy called Malcolm Payne. Malcolm Payne was an AMP life insurance agent back in the day, and he was fantastic bloke. He was the greatest agent AMP ever had. You know how I know that, Kylie? Because he told me. But he was a fantastic guy, and he got this worked out a long time ago. Now, this may be a little bit, this may not be modern, but basically one of the things he said was that logic opens the mind, but emotion opens the checkbook. Right? And what that really means is that to really to be able to to be able the client to want the service, you've got to get that emotional attachment. And I think, again, when we see stuff on websites and brochures and marketing collateral, and it's about we do this and we do that, I remember we did a workshop in America one time, and one of the guys said, we said, well, why would someone be a client of yours? And he said, well, because I'm honest and I'm ethical. Now, that's fantastic. That's great. Who would want to be a client of someone who is dishonest and unethical? So really, then it's about you, and it's about what you do for your clients. And I think that the message is absolutely fantastic, Kylie. So again, we'll talk about what to do afterwards, but there's some real gold here, and this isn't new stuff. This has been going on for a very, very long time. So please listen very closely to what Kylie's got to say, because there's some gold there.
Yeah. And I think what happens sometimes is, and again, I've been in the industry for a long time too, is sometimes we say what we've said for the last 10 years or maybe longer, right? And Daryl, I don't know how long you've been in the industry, but I just saw your comment about experienced advisors can say they've retired hundreds of clients successfully, whereas the client in front of them is the first time they're retiring. Okay, so sometimes it's about, I work with experienced advisors and new advisors. It's about sometimes tweaking what we need to do. So for all of those ones that are really experienced and going, I kind of do this. Is there a tweak? Is there something that you can slightly shift that's going to just drive that power more, that's going to connect with the client on an emotional level, that's really going to show your passion and your desire and your why you do what you do, right? People buy with us. People stay with us because they like us, they trust us, and they have confidence in us. So how do we build that with them? So what I've got here, and again, you're going to get this in your pack as well, but I want you to sit down and just really have a think about your experience and your passion and how you can highlight your strengths based on what we've touched on today, okay? Because this is what will drive clients to start with you, but it will also remind them why they should stay with you, okay? So open up your chat bar. I'm going to say for one last time for me, but it might not be. I might get you to do another activity in a minute. What's the one action you can take right now based on everything that Tony and I have talked about? What's the one shift or the one tweak or the one change that would make a difference in your value proposition? So open up, keep it simpler. Beautiful, Robert. People want it simple, okay? They want to know that you understand them, but make it easy for me to understand. Okay, I've been in financial services for a long time, and that lady that I spoke to yesterday, she just talked so much technical stuff that I just went, I get it, but you're not right for me. Changing the focus on the value required, just not what we do. I love it, Nikki. Beautiful, Naomi. That's exactly what I want you to do, is show that vulnerability through your own story, okay? My story goes for a lot longer than that. I've got many other stories that I share in financial services, but it's powerful, right? And I used to share that story. I used to do a lot of insurance. I'm extremely passionate about insurance. And I used to share that story about my father because that's why I do what I do. I want to make sure that other people are not left in that same situation as we were, as so many families were as well. Beautiful, Brad. Tell them more. Okay, good. I want you to keep thinking about what is that one shift that you can make that's going to make a big difference to you, okay? So I just want to recap, and then I'm going to get Tony to come back on again, and then I'll come back on as well. Build connection first, human connection. The power is in human connection. I run a workshop where I talk about, the future generation. We know we're going to have this massive transfer of wealth going down to that younger generation. And we know that they don't want to be communicated or even educated in the same way that we have been communicating and educating clients for years to come. Okay, we need to shift our way in which we're talking to our clients and communicating with our clients. It's the same with leadership, okay, where for the first time in history, leading 4 generations, okay, and all of them want something different from us, okay? People are far more complex than what they ever have been before. So always remember, build connection first. The second one, which I see many of you have popped in there, is communicate value in a simple, repeatable way. And then finally, appeal to emotion before logic, okay? Remember the psychology, emotional, dominant, and logical reasons, okay? We want to touch on all 3 of those as we're going through that. So keep popping into the chat bar. I'm going to pass you back over to Tony for a moment for his key takeouts.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kylie. I'll get you to just hit the next slide. I think one of the things where I thought you were going to go there, Kylie, was I think there was an old saying that says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that sort of stuck with me for a long time as well. So look, what I wanted to do is I think there's some absolute gold there that Kylie's gone through, and the way that she approaches things is fantastic. I've always been as the guys in our business will know, Rod and Terry, I like to think I'm a bit of an amateur psychologist, Kylie, but there's nothing like the real thing. So I think as an action item to go through and if you haven't developed one, to revise your CVP, refine your CVP, whether that's your personal or your business. I think that's really important. Now, one of the things again that we see again, and we're all about the practical, right, is that having a CVP is really great. And oftentimes when you go through this pain, if you like, and it can be a very painful experience to talk about all this emotion stuff. It's much easier to talk about the logic stuff. It's no good going through the pain of developing a fantastic CVP if no one knows about it, right? Now, obviously, a lot of the stuff that Kylie's talked about today is about clients and dealing with clients, which is really important. But it's also really important, I think, as mentioned in the chats today, it's also very important that staff understand what the CVP of the business as well. I'm reminded we've done a practice of the year competition in Australia and overseas for many, many years. And I'm reminded when we were in South Africa, and we went to a practice. Again, this was a practice of the year, so we're talking a really fantastic practice, and we talked to the principals of the business about what it is that they did, and they had this. They had a background in life insurance, as many South Africans do, and they talked about the stuff that they did. Again, Kylie, the stuff that you talked about, the client stories and how they help people, and delivering a check to a widow or a widower. Was just fantastic. And they had this great story about what they did with clients. Then we went downstairs and asked the head of administration what they did. And what she said was, we sell life insurance. Right? Now, is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. But it didn't sell the value. And what the really interesting thing is that head of administration was the child of the 2 principals of the business. Right? So if the children of the business don't get the message, it's going to be very hard for everyone else as well. We also do a lot of staff surveys. So we will survey the staff members of a business, and oftentimes we ask the question, what is it that you do? And the answers that come back are very often things are the stuff, not the actual outcome of the client. So to get the CVP and to make sure that that your staff understand what it is makes it much easier then to understand not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it and the outcome of doing it. And we've seen that can help a lot. Referral partners as well. I think a lot of time, when your referral partners understand not just what you do, but why you do it and the outcome to clients, they're almost selling you to the client before you even get there. So if you ask yourself the question, what does a referral partner, or an accountant or a lawyer or a mortgage broker, what do they say about what it is that you guys do to their client, to your prospect before you get there? They can make it much, much easier for you to go in and explain what it is that you do. So explaining that is really, really important. Now, the other thing is that as I mentioned before, we do a client survey. 60,000 clients have done it. And one of the things is that to be able to package up the great feedback that you get from those clients, to explain again back to your staff and to your referral partners, the real value you're providing clients in their clients' own words is really important. 3, deliver the value. And again, we're going to go right to the next one, Kylie, because that always happens, I reckon. The next one is ask your clients what they think. It's impossible to know what you've got to do to change or what your clients think about the service that you provide without knowing what they think. And if you do it anonymously and confidentially, that means that they're going to be more honest with what it is that you do. So again, what clients tell us about everyone else or the other advisors out there is the financial review process needs to be about my life, not my investments or my insurance. And the communication has got to be to me. It's got to be to me. It's got to be personalised, and it's got to be on an ongoing basis. But again, how do you know what's working? How do you know if your clients are getting the message that you want, unless you ask them what they think? So an outcome of this is we're going to be offering client surveys at a discounted price. So please think about that. And again, the last thing, sorry, Kylie, just one. The last one there is understanding average fee around 3,800. There's a lot of people that are providing more money and a lot of people that are providing less. They need to be getting value for money, and you need to be making money, profit margin, all of those. So please go through that client segment process as well. Again, next one, Kylie. So we do a whole bunch of stuff there. We encourage you to have a look at our website for those of you who don't know us. The client survey, client-based analysis. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that we do, and we'd be delighted to help anyone. Even if you just want to have a chat, we'd be delighted to have a chat about where it is that we can help you, where you think you've got the problem. Thanks, Kylie.
Yeah. I think you make a really good point just on that last slide too, around, what is your value proposition? Like when people ask you, what do you say, I'm a financial planner, right? Because that's what this other financial planner was saying. She was a financial planner, whereas she's more than that. You're all more than that, okay? So when she started talking about saving family farms for generations to come and children and grandchildren, then that's when referral partners that provide you with referrals, okay, or other business partners go, oh, it's a trigger for them. You own a family farm, you've got to go and see Anthony. You've got to go and see Matt. You've got to go and see James, okay? So please, you're more than a financial planner, and that becomes your value proposition. It's kind of like your elevator pitch. So think about it from that perspective as well. For those that I am not connected with, and I know I'm connected with a lot of you, I would love to continue to be connected with you. Please reach out and connect with us if this resonated with you. And if you know that, connecting with clients on that deeper emotional level, asking better questions, overcoming objections, those true sales and soft skills, okay, then reach out or scan the QR code there and find out a little bit more about our programs. We also have some exclusive bonuses for the people that come within the next 48 hours that want to talk around some of the programs that we offer to financial advisors to spend some quality time with myself and my team as well. So if you want to find out more about our sales and soft skills program specifically for financial planners, then please reach out. But we are close to time. So I will open, if there's any questions at all, please pop it into the chat bar or take yourself off mute now. Terry, Tony and Rod and myself are here to answer any other questions for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to continue to develop yourself and to grow yourself. You know, financial planning, like leadership, is a journey. It's not a destination. We constantly should be refining our own. So thank you so much for coming today. Questions? I'll pause. I can talk about this for days, can't I? So I'm sorry. If you don't have a question, open up your chat bar one last time. I did say I would do this. Open up your chat bar one last time. What's the one piece of gold you got from today? What's your one piece of gold?
Certainly wasn't a keyboard, Kylie.
A what, sorry?
It certainly wasn't a keyboard, that's for sure. It wasn't the goal.
More focus on business clients. Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Business vision, not the tools. Don't overthink it. Absolutely. More stories. Anthony, stories. You've got some stories. You've got some amazing stories. You've got some stories that people need to hear. Daryl, it's about the soft skills, right? I remember when I was first becoming a financial advisor, there was so much soft skills training out there. There was so many people that were training on soft skills. And then all of a sudden we became so focused on compliance and processes, and we lost that connection. We lost that ability to connect. And now I'm seeing this real big need, especially in the insurance space, to actually get back to some of those soft skills. We know that people connect with the people, right? So we have to be able to connect with them. James, focus on the value provide. Visual aids are great, absolutely. You know, you can use so many tools to create some of those visual aids as well. Beautiful. My pleasure. Love it, Narissa. Good on you. Yeah. Yeah, and they will help during those interviews as well. What we do know is 70% of the population is visual. Okay, so the more that we can attach some of our auditory and our kinesiology with that visual, it'll just allow that information to be retained. Okay, so they're not just visual. Most of them are visual with auditory or kinesiology. So you want to give them something to touch, but you do want to make sure that you are giving something visual, considering majority are like that. People, yeah, absolutely. Beautiful.
I think, Kylie, the really important thing here is to do something. I mean, I think a lot of people will look at this and think, yeah, I'll get to that. It's really important to do something, very important to practically do something, and you'll see the benefits of it.
Yeah, because you've just spent an hour with us, and people would say to me, Kylie, knowledge is power, and knowledge is only power when we do something with it. Okay. I know so many people that have read amazing books, listened to amazing podcasts, gone to amazing seminars, but do nothing with it. Okay. So knowledge is power when we take action. Okay. And I don't want you to walk away trying to do everything. I just want you to do one or two things, one or two things that are going to really land and that are going to make a difference for you. Thank you, Tony, Terry, Rod.
Thank you, Kylie.
And thank you, everyone, for spending the time with us today and continuing your growth as a financial planner.